सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे। रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमू रामाय तस्मै नमः। रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Hari Om. We were seeing the portion of Tatpada Vichara in Tattva Bodha. In Vedanta, what is the perspective of devotion? Answer to that question lies in Tatpada Vichara. Once we appreciate the way in which our acharyas have presented this, then any text of Vedanta we take, either it is Bhagavatam, Ramayana, we'll be able to see the flow of how they are presenting those ideas. What we are studying right now in Tattva Bodha, exact same description we will find in Bhagavatam. And the purpose is the same, that Tatpada Vichara is to invoke our devotion to Bhagwan. Bhagwan who is appearing as this entire creation. So in the last session we had seen how this Jnanendriyas are formed. First of all, how these 5 elements, which are subtle elements, they come out from Maya, presided over by consciousness. And then from each of those 5 elements, one Jnanendriya is formed. And because Jnanendriyas can perceive things from outside, knowledge can happen through these Jnanendriyas, we say it is formed from Sattvic aspect of Maya. And from the totality of all these 5 elements, the totality of Sattvic aspect of all the 5 elements, what comes out is called as Antahkarana, which is formed of mind, intellect, memory, and individuality. Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. Now we saw elaborately what is the symbolism of each Adhishtatru Devata, and also what is the role of each of these components of Antahkarana. Now something more on top of what we have already seen. What were the 3 things that we had seen before when we saw the Srishti Prakriya, right? We said Maya by itself doesn't have any existence. Maya depends upon consciousness for its existence and for anything that it does. So if Maya depends on Chaitanya, the result of Maya, which is this Antahkarana, will it depend on Chaitanya or not? So of course it will depend. If the cause itself is dependent, what to talk about the effect? So bringing it more closer, my thoughts are dependent upon consciousness. So whenever a thought comes, one is the nature of that thought. You see, that will be decided by the texture of the mind at that time. If it is sattvic, then the thought is called as sattvic. If it is agitating thought, it is rajasic. If it is indolent thought, it is tamasic. Now, how did these things come in the mind? Because the cause itself has these three gunas. Maya itself has sattva, rajas, tamas. The same gunas are carried on even in this antakarana, which is a product of Maya. So sometimes we see mind is in sattvic state, sometimes it is in rajasic state, sometimes tamasic state. So our sadhana there is to keep the mind in as much sattva as possible. Okay, so these are the two things. What was the first one? Maya itself is dependent upon consciousness. What to talk about this mind, which is a product? Mind is also dependent upon consciousness. Dependent meaning it derives its existence from Chaitanya. And second is, whatever is there in the cause gets carried forward to the effect. So Maya has three gunas. The same thing gets carried forward to antakarana. And sadhana there is to maintain as much sattva as possible. Now, how do I maintain sattva? I said, just go back to the previous analysis. All sense perceptions which are there, they are gathering data from the world outside. If that data is sattvic, you say mind is nothing but an aggregation of data we have collected from outside. So if I gather tamasic and rajasic data, and I expect somehow or the other mind will be sattvic, you say you can try, but that is not going to work. And sattvic mind means a cheerful mind. Okay, sattvic we should not take as something else, some other quality. Sattvic mind is the most receptive mind. Sattvic mind is the one that can assimilate ideas very quickly. And knowledge takes place in sattva. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam, Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita. So that is our sadhana. So now we saw jnanendriyas, organs of perception from each subtle element, and then samashti, the totality of it, from the sattvic aspect of it, comes this antakarana. Now let us see what happens to organs of perception and the pranas. Etesham panchatattvanam madhye, etesham panchatattvanam madhye, akashasya rajasamshat, akashasya rajasamshat, vagindriyam sambhutam, vagindriyam sambhutam, vayoh rajasamshat, vayoh rajasamshat, panindriyam sambhutam, panindriyam sambhutam, vahnehe rajasamshat, vahnehe rajasamshat, padendriyam sambhutam, padendriyam sambhutam, jalasya rajasamshat, jalasya rajasamshat, upasthendriyam sambhutam, upasthendriyam sambhutam, prithivyaha rajasamshat, prithivyaha rajasamshat, gudendriyam sambhutam, gudendriyam sambhutam, etesham samashti rajasamshat, etesham samashti rajasamshat, panchapranaha sambhutaha, panchapranaha sambhutaha. So now you see, first we had seen what happens from sattva, right? Now we are coming to rajas. So from sattva came organs of perception. From rajas aspect of Maya comes the organ of action. So from each element, so if Maya has three gunas, all the five elements on the top, they will also have three gunas. From the rajasic aspect of each of these elements, organ of action is going to evolve. So from space evolves the organ of speech. Panchatattvanam madhye akashasya rajasamshat vagindriyam sambhutam. Okay, organ of speech has come about from space element. And now you can think more about it, but that I will leave up to you. Now you can see how this entire family is getting formed. This one. So you have Akasha is the element. From that Akasha, the guna of that Akasha is sound. And the organ of perception is ear, which will take only sound. And organ of action is speech, which also is fundamentally operating through sound. Okay, so like this, we can do for all elements, but for now, I'll just do it for Akasha. Then from air came hands. From Rajasic aspect of air came hands. From fire element came legs. From water, the genital organs. And from earth is the anus. So these are 5 organs of action that have come about from Rajasic aspect of 5 elements. So now what came about from the total Rajasic aspect of 5 elements? From total Sattvic aspect, what came about? Antahkarana. So now from total Rajasic aspect, what comes about is Pancha Prana. Now what are pranas? We have already seen. In Pranamaya Kosha, we saw elaboration about what are these pranas, what are their functions. But there it was not mentioned from where do these pranas come. So now you see, in Sattva, there is Jnanam, which is Pradhana. So Jnana Shakti is Sattva Guna of Maya. And Rajas is Kriya Shakti. Means if somebody is very Rajasic person, we say is very, very dynamic, very active. But where does this energy come from? He says it comes from the food that you eat. So what are those? What is that food nourishing actually? We say food is nourishing these pranas. Samana Vayu is there, right? Which is digesting the food inside, making it all homogeneous. We say that is this energy. Okay, so Pancha Pranas are formed from the Rajasic aspect of 5 elements. So now we have seen the subtle creation from Indriya standpoint. But what about this gross creation? Where does this gross creation come about? Because until now, whatever we saw was all subtle. Organs of perception are subtle. Mind is subtle. Organs of action and pranas, all of them are subtle. So where does this gross world, including this body, where does it come about? What is the procedure for this gross world to manifest? Now this process is called as Panchikaranam. In Atmabodha class, I had mentioned it is elaborately given here, so we don't have to spend too much time there. So here is that Panchikaranam. And one thing we should remember, Panchikaranam is not a fairy tale. Many times when we listen to this, it looks like somebody is saying some kind of katha. You say, no, iti Veda vadanti na danta katha. Goswamiji writes in Ramayana that this is mentioned in Taittiriya Upanishad and Chandogya Upanishad. So keeping those mantras in mind, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji is giving us in a simple format. Because this is Prakarana Grantha, he says, before you study Upanishad, I will just introduce this topic. Later on, you go and see there how much of elaboration is done, how much of discussion is done on each point. So let us see Panchikaranam. Etesham panchatattvanam tamasam panchikruta panchatatvani bhavanti panchikaranam kathamiti chet etesham pancamahabhutanam tamasam shaswarupam तामसांशस्वरूपम् एकमेकं भूतं द्विधा विभज्य एकम् एकं भूतं द्विधा विभज्य एकमेकमर्धं पृथक् तूष्णीं व्यवस्थाप्य एकमेकमर्धं पृथक् तूष्णीं व्यवस्थाप्य अपरमपरमर्धं अपरमपरमर्धं चतुर्धां विभज्य स्वार्धमन्येषु अर्धेषु स्वभागचतुष्टयसंयोजनं कार्यं तदा पञ्चीकरणं भवति एतेभ्यः पञ्चीकृतपञ्चमहाभूतेभ्यः स्थूलशरीरं भवति एवं पिण्डब्रह्माण्डयोरैक्यं सम्भूतम्. Don't worry about the long Sanskritam paragraph. It's very easy concept. We will see in the next slide. But just keep an eye out for this particular line. Okay, this is the Sutra Vakya for all Upasana. This is the main sentence for the substratum of all Upasanas and also the substratum of Bhakti Siddhanta. How it is, that we will see later. So the first line until the second last line talks about a process called as Panchikaranam. How does this subtle element turn into this gross physical world? Rather than saying turn into, how does this subtle element appear as this gross world? So what is the evolution of gross creation? He says you saw sattvic aspect, organs of perception, antakarna came out. Rajasic aspect, organs of action and pancha pranas came out. So this gross world has come out from the tamasic aspect of Maya. So remember, all these 5 elements are unmanifest right now. But because their cause has 3 gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas, they also have 3 gunas embedded in them. And from the tamasic aspect of Maya, gross world of names and forms appears. So now we can imagine whatever is our ability to imagine, the vastness of this creation. You say stars, planets, galaxy, Milky Way, and like that there are so many. So Vedanta says Ananta Koti Brahmanda Nayaka. There are so many Brahmandas, but now we are just talking about the manifest form of it, in the gross world that can be seen through our eyes. So the procedure of Panchikaranam is this. So first, stage 1, there are 5 elements in their subtle form. What are the 5 elements? Space, Akasha, Vayu, which is air, Teja, fire, Apaha, water, and then Prithvi, earth. Stage number 1, they are in their original form. Stage 2, each element gets split into half. Okay, each element splits into half. Stage 3 is 1 half remains as it is, and other half splits into 4 parts. So this half remained as it is, and the other half split into 4 parts over here. Okay, so that is stage 3. Whatever we chanted in Sanskritam, same thing it is. Not that I'm telling something else. So now they felt we have 1 half. they are very understanding all these 5 elements. They say if this gross creation has to come about, we should share whatever we have. So each element kept one half with itself, and other 4 parts which were there, that got shared to other elements. So that was a 4th step. So you see, one half is coming from the space element, which was already there. And then 1/8 comes from Vayu, another portion comes from fire, one portion coming from water, and then this is the last one, which is coming from this Prithvi. So like this, each element kept one half, and other half it borrowed, or other 1/8 came from other elements. So together, the stage number 4 was the formation of the gross physical element. So the first 3 stages were apanchikruta. They were subtle. And the 4th one is the panchikruta, the gross form of it. So if you ask, who brought about, these steps? How did it go from one element to splitting between both of them, and then to the next one, and so on? So we say there is no separate doer of this Panchikaranam. So Bhagwan's Maya is such that it has this principle embedded in it. And if something has to undergo some kind of change, an inert object cannot undergo change. So it is presided over by Chaitanya alone, that entire process happens. So Bhagwan says, I am just Adhishthana. I am the Chaitanya Swarupa Adhishthana. Whatever has to happen is happening in Maya. Just like, a seed, once you sow it, there are so many things that happen in that seed. The sprout comes out, and then slowly it comes out from the ground, and then it develops leaves, and then slowly blossoms, flower comes, then a fruit comes, and so on. So who brought out that flower or a seed, the sprout from that seed? We say nobody else. You might have watered it and done other things, but that seed inherently had this principle embedded in it. So Panchikaranam process is also like that. Okay, so from those 5 elements, this gross world of creation comes about. And again, I said in the beginning also, the main pramana for this, the valid means of knowledge, is from Upanishad again. Whenever creation topic comes, we cannot have our own intellection there, because nobody was there to see what happened at that time. And in any text of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, when this topic is discussed, he adds one more shloka, where he says that because this is Veda Siddhanta, don't doubt its efficacy. Practical implications we will see later. Okay, so this was a simple way of describing what is this Panchikaranam process like. In Vedanta, what we call creation, right, Jagat, is nothing but a particular arrangement of these grossified 5 elements. What I call as this laptop, this water bottle, this floor, the pillar. For transactional purpose, we have given different names. But ultimately what it is only these 5 elements. Now imagine if somebody is able to think about creation in the way that we studied. Whenever they see any object, that sadhaka should be able to dissolve it into 5 elements through knowledge only, not physically breaking down anything. Take it back to the subtle elements, take it back to Maya, take it back to Chaitanya. Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, why are we discussing all this about creation and everything? He says, purpose of discussing about creation is to say, Chaitanya Purvika iyam srishtihi. That this creation is not inert. It has consciousness as its substratum. And Vedanta will go one step further and say, that consciousness you are. Okay, that is Mahavakya. That is what we are striving to understand over here. So now what is the extent of this gross world? He say any inert object that you see around, even that has the same, ingredient. Same 5 elements are forming the rocks and the mountains and the rivers, all of them. What about trees and plants? What about their sharira? Their body is also made up of the same 5 elements. What about animals? He said their body is also the same 5 elements. And we human beings are a tiny, dot in this entire creation whose body is also made up of the same 5 elements. Means if somebody can shift their attention from name and form to the substratum, something wonderful will happen in that person's perspective towards this world. All the differences, that come about with the titles that we have taken upon this physical body, Vedanta is trying to shake, that fundamental understanding. And the fact that this body has been borrowed from creation. Right? Whatever we have borrowed, that we should make good use of it, but not get attached to it. Just like we borrow a book from library, read it well, but make sure that you give it back in the same condition. Don't hold on to that book. That is this physical body, and this entire creation, which is not something else. It is just a specific arrangement of Pancha Mahabhuta. Now you see the last line, Evam Pinda Brahmanda Yoho Aikyam Sambhutam. What that line means is, in this way, Pinda means the individual and Brahmanda means the total. Aikyam Sambhutam. In this way, there is oneness between the individual and the total. Now you might wonder, how is this individual and total the same? Gurudev calls it as microcosm and macrocosm. Whatever happens in microcosm, the same happens in macrocosm. That's how he puts it. So we wonder, how is this oneness possible? So let us take an example. From that we can go on to this point. In our physical body, we have our hand. Now can we say this hand is separate from the body? So no, we cannot say that this hand is something different. It is part of this body. But can you say the hand alone is the body? You say no, we cannot say that also. Neither can we say hand is different from the body, nor can we say hand alone is the body. So what can we say? We say this hand is an integral part of this body. Even if you interact with this hand, you can very well say that you have interacted with this person. Means when you shake your hand, you shake only one part of your body, right? But do you say, I met his hand? No, I met him. So this Bheda is called as Bheda Sahishnu Abhedaha. Means there is difference also, but there is oneness also. Okay, Bheda Sahishnu Abhedaha it is called. And this is the fundamental principle of Karma Yoga. This entire body, we say, is Virata. My Bhagavan alone is appearing as this entire creation. Who are you then? You say, I am this hand. What is my job? Just like job of my hand of this body is to serve the body, my job as an individual is to become the hand of Bhagavan. Means my job is to serve Bhagavan, who is appearing as this entire creation. So this is what our Raman Maharshi said in Upadesha Sara. He says, you want to do puja? If you have understood this entire creation as Bhagavan's form, as that Chaitanya, Saguna Brahma, whatever we saw, right? Previously we had seen what is Nirguna and Saguna Brahma. If you have understood that this entire creation is nothing but Saguna Brahma, then this shloka will make sense. Jagata Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam. What is the understanding? That this entire Jagat is my Isha. And what is my role? Become a Sevaka. Jagata Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam Ashtamurti Bhrut Deva Pujanam. So here it is given as 24 tattvas, but you can always boil it down to 8 elements. So he says, out of these 8 elements alone, taking these 8 elements, my Bhagavan is appearing as this creation. So I am his dasa. This is Vedantic Bhakti. What we had seen last time, Bhagavan Ramchandra ji also tells the same thing to Hanumanji. Who is my Ananya Bhakta? So Ananya Jake Jasi Matina Tarai Hanumanta. This Buddhi, one who has, that person is my Ananya Bhakta. So I had another definition of Bhakti. I thought, dancing, singing, that is Bhakti. Yeah, that is also Bhakti. But true Bhakti is this, he says. मैं सेवक सचराचर रूप स्वामी Bhagavanta. That I am Sevaka, and this entire Chara and Achara Srishti is my Bhagavan. So with this principle in mind, lot of our cultural aspects are highlighted. That we say, make your work as your puja. Make your work as your puja. Means you have seen, even in our tables and offices, right? We have a small picture of Bhagavan. So there we go and do our pranams. What is the bhava we are invoking there? That Bhagavan, you have given me this work. All these objects which are there are nothing but your form. If by mistake I touch my feet to any of it, quickly we'll do pranams to that. Initially, we might not have studied all this Maya, Upadhi, and then 5 elements, how the creation comes. But after studying Vedanta, the same practice becomes more meaningful. You will see even in cars, right? We put garland to cars, we have Bhagavan's Murti inside. Same bhava. Means Vedanta does not look down upon any of our religious practices. All it does is give meaning to those practices. Even in trucks, you might have seen, there are so many Mahavakyas written, behind, in front, even inside. Before starting, it's our tradition, to do pranams to the vehicle. But if that bhava is there, Jagata Ishadi Yukta Sevanam, Ashtamurti Bhrut Deva Pujanam, then it becomes even more meaningful. You see, in that way, there is oneness between Pinda and Brahmanda. Bhagavan is the total, and I, with these conditionings, am the part. And more I have soaked my mind in this, stronger the mind becomes. Because this mind is now tuning to totality. Right? Wherever I go, I know my Bhagavan is not away from me. So that is the power of this type of meditation, this understanding. So there is much more to creation than what we just see. The first level of creation, what we are familiar with, is only the gross creation. Right? We just see the things which are manifest, the solid objects. We say that alone is creation. At the most, we might say, oh, how vast is this gross world? But Vedanta comes and says, there is not only gross creation, there is something called as subtle creation also, which is as pervasive as your gross world. Means if you see some bird flying, some other insect crawling, that jiva also has a mind. Even the inert objects, they are also presided over by a sentient principle, and all of that put together is what we call as the total mind. And that total mind is very, very pure. Maharaj used to say, if you just meditate upon this fact that I am part of this total mind, Bhagwan, may you give Shubha Sankalpa in this Vyashti mind. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. May you illumine this individual mind with your sattva, with your totality. He says this individual mind will become very, very pure. Maharaj used to say this is Amoga Sparsha. Means it cannot go in vain. All that I have to do is understand this well and try to think in this way. That itself is meditation. So this is subtle creation, which we generally miss. Okay. And one level above that is causal world, which is Maya. Which has the blueprint of all the subtle and gross creation. But all of it is not independently existing. It is all dependent upon Chaitanya. This point, if you understand, later Advaita Vedanta study will become easier. That we should not get caught up in Srishti Prakaranam. Means how did those 4 elements come together and how did it become gross? Or many other questions you might have. See, that was for a purpose. Understand why they are explaining in that way. Purpose of Vedanta is not to establish creation. Purpose of Vedanta is to question the existence of creation. But for now, we can just say that this entire creation depends upon Chaitanya. One is real, another is dependently existing. Another means Maya and this entire Jagat is dependently existing upon consciousness. Now you remember 24 elements were to be pointed out, right? So did we actually see 24 things? Where did we start? Atha chaturvimshati tattvotpatti prakaram vakshyamaha. That now we will elaborate the 24 elements or building blocks of creation. So let us see 5 elements, right? Subtle elements, Akasha, Vayu, Teja, Apa and Prithvi. 5 organs of perception, ear, skin, and so on. So 10 total. 5 organs of action. Okay, total 15. Then the 4 aspects of Antahkarana, Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, total 19. And then the last 5 are Pancha Prana. What about the 5 gross elements? This entire creation that I am seeing. Say we don't even count it as a separate entity. Why? Because it's already included over here. So in the 5 elements, it already comes in. More and more, we should make an effort to go from this gross creation to something subtler. That is the whole purpose. That is why this portion is elaborated. Now comes another very important topic. Now Bhagwan is introducing, so now different prakaranams are over. First prakaranam was sadhana chatushtaya. Then came Tvam-pada vichara. Right? Then we saw Tat-pada vichara. Now he is introducing a different topic, which is of Jiva and Ishvara. Okay. In simple words, Tvam-pada Vichara is about knowing the essential nature of Jiva. Tat-pada Vichara is for knowing essential nature of Ishvara. Okay, so that was the main purpose. Now let us see what Bhagwan has to say. Sthula Sharirabhimani, Sthula Sharirabhimani, Jivanamakam, Jivanamakam, Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati, Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati, Sa eva Jivaha, Sa eva Jivaha, Prakrutya Swasmat Ishwaram, Prakrutya Swasmat Ishwaram, Bhinnattvena Janati, Bhinnattvena Janati, Avidya Upadhissan, Avidya Upadhissan, Atma Jiva Ityuchyate, Atma Jiva Ityuchyate, Maya Upadhissan, Maya Upadhissan, Ishvara Ityuchyate, Ishvara Ityuchyate, Evam Upadhi Bhedat, Evam Upadhi Bhedat, Jiveshvara Bheda Drishtihi, Jiveshvara Bheda Drishtihi, Yavat Paryantam Tishtati, Yavat Paryantam Tishtati, Tavat Paryantam, Tavat Paryantam, Janma Maranadi Samsaraha, Janma Maranadi Rupa Samsaraha, Na Nivartate, Na Nivartate, Tasmat Karanat, Tasmat Karanat, Na Jiveshwarayoho, Na Jiveshwarayoho, Bheda Buddhihi Svikarya, Bheda Buddhihi Svikarya. So now suddenly, Bhagwan is introducing a new word called as Jiva. This word did not come before, right? Until this point, we saw about Sadhana Chatushtaya, Sthula Sharira, Panchakosha, Srishti Prakaranam, Sthula Prapancha, everything, but we didn't use the word Jiva. And you also didn't use the word Ishvara. So what are these things? So Bhagwan says, Sthula Sharira Abhimani Jiva Namakam Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati. What is the ingredient of this Jiva? He says, ingredient of this Jiva is Brahma. Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati. That alone is called as Jiva. Brahma Pratibimbam means reflection of this consciousness. Reflected consciousness alone is Jiva. What is a medium? He says medium is Sukshma Sharira, in which this reflection happens. Antakarana is that medium in which reflection of consciousness takes place. And then further on we have this physical body and so on. But because there is a reflection, doesn't mean there are two things over there. So whenever there is, let us say, a bird and a reflection of that bird, you say, how many things are there? Is it bird and its reflection, or is there only bird? So that is what Advaita Vedanta says. There are no two things called as Brahma and Jiva. Brahman alone, not knowing its true nature, identifying with the conditionings which have come about because of this Maya. Now you see, Srishti Prakriya will be helpful. No? How did these conditionings come about? They are dependent upon consciousness, but very interestingly, they come about to as though cover Chaitanya. That is the main essence of Jiva. This Jiva is not something different from Brahma. Brahma Pratibimba is called as Jiva. Now in example, you will have limitations. Huh? There is space in between the bird and the reflection. Even if you take sun and the reflection of the sun in the water, you say sun is somewhere, reflection is happening somewhere. But here it is not like that. This reflection is happening in Chaitanya only. There is no gap, in between them. No vyavadhana is there. So between Jiva and Brahma, what is the real gap? We say real gap is avidya. Once that goes away, this Jiva knows oneself as Brahma. Sa eva jivaha prakrutya swasmat ishwaram bhinnatvena janati. This statement is also interesting. You just see these words. Jivaha ishwaram janati. What is the subject? Jivaha. Object is Ishvara. Janati is the verb. You see, Jiva knows Ishvara. So I should ask myself, do I feel this way? Whether I know Ishvara. He says this is not a very preliminary sadhaka. This sadhaka has thought a little bit about life. Some satsang has happened. And at least this much he knows, that I am there as a jiva and Jagat is there which is in front of me. But these two entities alone does not form or explain every experience in my life. There is some other entity which is constantly interfering. Otherwise, if I was the sole controller of this entire Jagat, I would have gotten whatever I want. Every plan of mine would have gone the way I want it. But it doesn't happen that way. So there has to be somebody else who is giving the results of my action. So at least this much I know, that Bhagwan is. So Ishvara asti iti janati. But how does he know? In what way does he know that Bhagwan is different from me? And this understanding has been coming from a long time. It is not recently that we have developed. For Janmas, we have carried this notion that Bhagwan is somewhere else. Jagat is there right in front of me. I am there over here. But I don't see Bhagwan right now. He is somewhere different from me. But Vedanta wants to say, you did Tvampada Shodhanam, right? And there what did you say? I am that Atman, which is Satchidananda Swarupa. You say that same Atma with Avidya Upadhi is called as Jiva. Avidya means Maya functioning at individual level. So that entity is called as Jiva. And the same consciousness with Maya Upadhi is called as Ishvara. Upadhi means something which is in proximity of that object, but it actually doesn't bring about any change in that object. For example, these glasses, right? So without glass also, I'm the same person. With glasses, with that upadhi of glass, I might be called something else. Right? I might be called as person with glasses. So as though with one type of glass, one type of upadhi, same Atma is called as Jiva. That is what is said in this line. Avidya upadhi san Atma Jiva iti uchyate. And Maya upadhi, if you take Maya upadhi, same Atma is called as Ishvara. Evam upadhi bhedat Jiva Ishvara bheda drushti. So this difference between Jiva and Ishvara is from the standpoint of conditioning. And until I hold on to my upadhi, yavat paryantam bheda drushti tishtati. Bheda drushti will be there when I hold on to my individual conditioning. The totality will hold on to its own conditioning. And I cannot deny it. Means I cannot say, I have desires in my mind. Holding on to conditioning means having desires, thinking that I am this body. And then I say that Bhagwan is not there. You say, no, we cannot say that. Vedanta wants to say, get rid of your jivatva first. When conditionings are let gone of, the substratum is understood to be one and the same. Means we should not loosely make sentences that Jiva Ishvara is same. Or sometimes another sentence you hear is, Vedanta is interested in denying God. Right? You say you are not thought through what is Vedanta trying to say. Vedanta is interested in denying your individuality. That you let go of, what remains is Bhagwan only. And we all have a state in deep sleep when we don't have notion of I, notion of finite I. There is no concept of, no notion of Jagat, no notion of Ishvara. That same Ishvara, whom I thought to be different from me, is understood as one with me. Vedanta is not denying Bhagwan. It is just pointing out our absolute oneness with Bhagwan. With conditioning, what is the oneness? What we just saw earlier. Bheda Sahishnu Abheda. I am the part, Bhagwan, you are the whole. So in Vyavahara, that is what we have to hold on to. In Paramartha, it is this absolute oneness that is pointed out. So once that is understood, once these conditionings are understood as mithya, we say then there is no samsara. There is a difference between Jagat and samsara. Jagat will continue to appear, but my samsara in that Jagat will not be there. Tasmat karanat jiveshwarayoho bheda buddhihi na svikarya. More elaboration you will see in the next session. So we will have more updates about our class schedule. Tattva Bodha class will continue. We will complete the text. Okay, and Atma Bodha also. All other classes will be on pause. There are more announcements about this, so please stay back. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, there are some questions that we can touch base quickly. Just like Tvampada has Antakarana, does Tatpada also have Antakarana? So we saw Samashti, Panchamahabhutas, Sattvic aspect comes together to form Sattvic Antakarana, or the Sattva comes about to form individual Antakarana. The question is, does Tatpada also have Antakarana? Tatpada doesn't have Antakarana like a Jiva. Means in Jiva what happens is, there are a lot of limitations which are there in every aspect. Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, there are different limitations which are there. Tatpada Antakarana is what we call as total mind. But the difference between individual and total Antakarana is that it is very Sattva Pradhana, Vishuddha Sattva it is. And because it is that Sattva Pradhana, there are no limitations like which are there in individual mind. Means if you ask what is Bhagwan's mind, we say Bhagwan's mind is Hiranyagarbha. Brahmaji is the presiding deity. So in that way, Samashti Antakarana is explained. Means Samashti Antakarana doesn't have Sankalpa Vikalpa. There is only Shubha Sankalpa. Satya Sankalpa, right? That is the word of Bhagwan. Means Bhagwan's Sankalpa is such that if he makes a resolve, there is no other opposite that can happen. Satya Sankalpa Bhagwan is. And if he has to decide something, he doesn't have to analyze too much. Like how Sankalpa Vikalpa happens here at individual level. He said Samashti level, it doesn't happen. Why? Because Vishuddha Sattva. And Vyashti, mind, Antakarana, to bring about anything. Sankalpa is there, but along with Sankalpa, you need karma. But Samashti, Tatpada doesn't need karma. Sankalpa matra only, this entire Srishti can come about. That is why we say Bhagwan need not take avatara to finish Ravana. Right? Ravana, Bhagwan can, with his Sankalpa only, finish him. But he comes because bhaktas are waiting. So that is the difference. Main point we should note here is Samashti Antakarana, if you want to call, it is Hiranyagarbha, total mind. But it is not unlike individual mind, no ragadvesha or anything. I think that much is good. Okay. We had discussed in previous session that starting point of faith is necessary to pursue Vedanta. And then from that, there can be systematic inquiry. How does that faith get developed to start with? I want to develop faith, but where do I start? Faith is always in something, right? So one is, if you want faith in Vedanta, if we have faith in the teacher, then the teacher will make sure that you get faith in Vedanta. If they are like thorough, if their Shraddha in Vedanta Shastra, in Upanishads, Veda mantras are very thorough, it just rubs off on the student. You cannot but help it. True with any knowledge. If you are going to a music teacher and you see the way in which the teacher handles the notes or the music knowledge in general, the student gets inspired in the same way. Because student is seeing the result of knowledge, right? Seeing how is that teacher able to sing so well. So he has that Shraddha. So in the same way, Vedanta also is like that. But if you say, how do I increase faith in Bhagavan? You say, increasing faith in Bhagavan, start with Sakama Bhakti. Sakama Bhakti means what? Whatever desires we have, sincerely put it in front of Bhagavan. And whatever we are doing, work, everything will go on as it is. But see whether Bhagavan, or see the way in which Bhagavan will answer those prayers. Means we have done this before, but we never acknowledged who answered those prayers. So gradually when we notice or when we realize that there is somebody whom I can seek help from, who has helped me once before, and again if I need help, I can go back to him. So that will increase this faith. Right? This is the main thing you will see in all stutis, Gopika Geet or Garuda, Garudji's stuti in Uttarkanda, Kakabhushundi stuti. All stutis you will find the same thing. That Bhagavan, how you came and helped me when I was in need. Now again I am in need, please come. So that is, another way of increasing our devotion. Hari Om everyone. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.